Hey, Minnesota State Representative Krista Knudsen. We're coming to the end of week 4, and I just wanted to give you a little wrap up. We started the week with Governor Walz holding a press conference, and I call it his fraud fix-it plan. He revealed how he thinks he's going to fix the fraud problem that he's overseen for the last 8 years. Governor Walz proposed that we give sole authority of all of our human services programs to the Department of Human Services. Currently, our counties help administer these programs. Governor Walz thinks that we need to give sole authority to the Department of Human Services. Remember, the Department of Human Services is currently run by Commissioner Shireen Gandhi. She was the Chief Compliance Officer of the department since 2017, and she was recently promoted as Commissioner by Governor Walz. She was a Chief Compliance Officer when this fraud happened, and now Governor Walz is proposing that we give her sole authority over fixing the fraud problems that she didn't fix her entire career as Chief Compliance Officer. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's more of the fox watching the hen house, we can't let that happen. Another thing that happened this week was movement on that Optum report. After we got our totally redacted copies of that Optum report, the Human Services Committee passed legislation that would mandate that report is released. Unfortunately, after Human Services, where it had bipartisan support, it went to the Judiciary Committee, and there was an amendment put on that bill that said that only the Human Services Committee could see that report. Then last night, that bill was brought to the floor. The Democrats tried to put an amendment on that bill that would have made it a misdemeanor if anybody that saw that report shared any information that was on that report. Fortunately, that amendment was spoke to and then withdrawn, so that didn't go on. However, it still limits the people that can see that report to the Committee of Human Services. I think that's wrong. That report was paid for by the taxpayers of our state, and our taxpayers, the people of Minnesota, deserve to see what went wrong, how the government lost $9 billion or more to fraudsters in our state. So I voted no on that. It's also that it would also make it really hard to write legislation to help stop the fraud if we can't use that report and point to the information we learned in that report to justify the need for the legislation that we're writing. So I voted no. I think that the taxpayers that pay for that report have every right to see that report. Another thing that happened this week was Democrats all voted down the pass-through entity tax. This is a federal conformity bill. It is zero cost to the state, and it would greatly benefit small business owners, especially in our state. It is a federal tax credit that our businesses can get, but every single Democrat on the tax committee voted against it. So that's stuck in tax committee, and Democrats are holding that hostage. This would save our small business and medium businesses, size businesses in our state, thousands and thousands of dollars. And remember, tax day for businesses is March 15th, just a couple days away, and Democrats are holding that bill hostage. The Trump derangement syndrome is very strong in St. Paul right now. Anything relating to Trump's proposals, Democrats are voting down left and right. Another example happened in Ed Finance this week, where there is an opportunity for our state to opt in. All Governor Walz has to do is opt in. It's a federal program that would allow schools to create SGOs, and an individual, and any person in Minnesota, can donate $1,700 to the school of their choice. They can write a check to a school, public, private, to their SGO, and in return receive a $1,700 federal tax credit. It costs the state nothing to do this. Our schools are struggling because of the 65 unfunded mandates that were passed in the 23-24 legislative session. And Democrats are not allowing us to pass that. We should all be demanding that Governor Walz opts us in to that federal program. And just to show you the extremes that we have here, the next day in Education Finance Committee, where that proposal was heard, Democrats brought forward several different pieces of legislation that would increase school funding, the LOR, local optional revenue. That revenue is paid for by the property tax payers in that school district. They want to increase the property taxes to help our schools fund the 65 mandates that they placed on them in 23 and 24 instead of allowing individuals to donate to the school of their choice. Remember, 90% of the kids in Minnesota go to public schools, and parents that have the ability to donate to a school will most likely donate to their students' school. Unbelievable. The fight goes on. There's things happening every single day. Thank you all for paying attention to what is happening. And remember, Minnesota is worth fighting for.